Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. And today we have with us Mark. Mark, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Mark McCann, and I am the lead recruiter at the East Valley Institute of Technology. We're also known as Evit. And thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Nice, of course. Tell us more about Evit. Evit. I knew I was going to
Yeah,
still fumble it.
it's all good. It's all good. It's kind of one of those where you haven't seen that word before, but you feel like you have. You're like, is that exit? Or um,
Right.
so we are a career and technical ed school for high schoolers and adults that want to learn and get certified in certain career paths. So for our high school programs, we can kind of get them a jump start, whether it's a career in the medical field. If you want to do industrial trades, work with your hands. We have tech and design with different computers, even things like fashion and video production where they can kind of be creative. And then we also have the service industry where our students are doing cosmetology and culinary arts, and all of these different programs are designed to help students get a certification and get started into an industry that they're interested in. So it also counts for elective credits. So I know for our homeschool population, sometimes there's that challenge of like, hey, I can teach, the math, the science, the English, the history, but what do I
Yes.
do for the electives, and how do we go about really finding a great avenue for that? And a lot of students will actually come here and get their elective credits towards graduation through our programs, because our high school kids do their core classes at their home school, whether that's a traditional high school, a charter, a private, online school, homeschool, everything in between. They come to us for that elective credit. And it really kind of everybody wins. You make more out of your day by getting a certification at the same time in the industry, helping you get in a job, get into a better college, proceed in the military, all those things that students want to do after high school. It kind of helps them get a jump start earlier in their career.
Yes, I love that. That is like, I feel like all schools should have that mandatory anyways. Like, that should be a part. Like, hey, learn this. Like, see if this is something that you're really into and try it out. And like, so is it like an internship or how is it like, how does it look?
Yeah, so we have a multiple campuses. The one where I'm located right now is on Main Street in Mesa, and we have 40 different programs here, and they have hands-on experience and learning from industry professionals that they're getting on site. Each one of our programs does have some form of industry experience. Sometimes that is an internship while they go out into the community, into a business and work there. But if we can give them that experience here on our campus where we're kind of doing teaching schools, we can really provide that opportunity for them that way. So like, for example, our cosmetology program, you can get your full cosmetology license in 2 years. Full license. Yeah. It's
In
4 hours a day
high school.
while in high school, paid for by
That
the
is
state of
awesome.
Arizona. And then, we have an open and working salon. So people from the public can come in and get services, and it gives our students practice. They get a discounted price. Obviously, it's not, Paul Mitchell or any big top rated
Yes,
salon,
yes.
but our students get that full license and get that industry experience. We also have a restaurant on campus. We have a class that takes, it's like a cell phone repair shop, but they can take anything and fix it. That's technology based. Lots of different opportunities for them to get that industry experience in-house. And then if they can't, we also have a daycare on campus for our early childhood program. So students are practicing, early education teaching, things like that. If we can't provide that experience in-house, then we set them up with a different internship kind of opportunity out in the field.
That is so awesome. Like you got me like, hey, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do.
100%. We have
Can
adult
we go?
programs too, actually, that are just starting to grow. We've just added associate degrees coming up soon. So we're really excited about rolling those out, helping adults, once if they want to learn a new skill or new trade or change careers. We have a lot of great programs that can kind of just be, short, affordable, and help them get started in a new path or further along in the path they're already going.
Nice. So is this a all day, like like a class day, like a school day wise, or is this just a few hours out the day? How does this look?
Yeah, so it's about half of your school day. So
Okay.
students either come here in the morning and then they do their core classes in the afternoon, or vice versa. They do their core class in the morning, then they come to us in the afternoon. So we have those two sessions. For the adult programs, it's going to be more full day, just because we want the calendar wise to be shorter, right? If we can have you here 8 hours and get you out in 5 months, then that's ideal
Yes.
for those families that are trying to keep food on the table and pay rent and make that
Mhm.
big change.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is an amazing program that you have going on here. How did we
Well,
get
thank
here?
you.
How did you get to Evit? Look, I'm
Yes,
gonna get it.
you
Look,
nailed
I
it. That
had to
was
take my
great.
time. Look, I had to
You're
take my
like,
time.
Evit. Yeah, no,
Yes.
hey, that's what it's about. So yeah, so I started as a high school teacher, and I was
Yes.
teaching in the classroom, and I remember my first classroom was in inner city San Diego.
Mm,
And I was, I kind of drank the Kool-Aid when it came to Avid and pushing college and saying, hey, these kids can make it in college. And everything was, we wore our college shirts on Wednesdays and college, 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 and trying to convince these kids. And
mm,
what I found was there was a small population that, hey, I'm going to college. And it was like, great. But the ones that weren't felt left behind, felt like maybe they weren't enough, or they, maybe they're lacking something. And it really wasn't an effective approach. And I didn't realize it until I had, a teacher that was in the classroom with me. We were co-teaching, and he said, why are you doing that? And what do you mean? Like
uh-huh.
college is good, like we want to help them be successful. He said, how are you making these kids that want to work, on cars feel? And I go, well, don't you think they should aspire for more? And he goes, how do you define success for a kid? And all of this really
Mm,
changed my thinking. He challenged me in a way that really helped me kind of see the bigger picture. And, I'm 23, 24 years old, but kind of went, wait a minute, if college isn't for everybody, that's okay. Right?
yes.
We don't need to spend all this money to go and find ourselves and explore and figure out. Now, if there's a career that you want and college is required, go and take
And
advantage of that
yes.
and get every help and every leg up you can. But we do have a lot of students that just go to college because that's what they're supposed to do. And I don't think I don't think we're serving our students by saying it that way. So
Yes.
when I kind of figured that out, that opened my eyes a little bit. I ended up teaching more, and I actually got into coaching some basketball overseas and at the college level, and got back into teaching down here in Phoenix. And this opportunity opened up to be a recruiter here at Evit, and I'd kind of heard about what it was, but it really aligned with my, kind of my philosophy around education, which is that students should really define their own success. Not saying
Mm,
they should give themselves grades or, or like say, oh, this is good enough, but pick something that you want to do, have a plan of how you're going to get there, and then go for it. And at Evit, if we can be
yes.
a part of that plan and help students get further along, that's really what we're about.
I love that. Yes. I remember you speaking when we were neighbors at
Mhm.
the National School Choice Week event. Um, about your time in the classroom, and that's what made clicked. I was like, oh, we got to talk. So yes, because I
I
always
really
want to know, like,
appreciate you
okay,
inviting me.
of course, of course. I too was a public school teacher, and I taught my last couple of years. I was teaching 12th grade English, and to see how many students were like kind of lost.
Mhm.
They had made it to the end of the road as far as high school career goes, and they're just like, okay, I don't know what's next. And it actually is kind of scary. So I'm not really that excited because I was like, why aren't y'all excited about graduation? Like it was just felt
Yeah.
like a downtime, like everyone was down. And it was just like, it's a fear. And excuse me. Even speaking with some of the kids who did go to college after high school, because I talked to a lot of my former students still. And I know one young lady was like, well, I wish somebody would have talked to me more about college in general, because, once I got there, it's just like, okay, I'm here, but what? Like she said, I don't feel like that was a decision I was supposed to be making at 18. Like she was like, and that really
Yeah.
it hits because a lot of these kids, like you said, like many professionals do in general, encourage kids all the time, go to college, go to college, go to college. Like my parents were really big on college. Like I just knew I had to go to college. I didn't know what I was going to
Exactly.
do necessarily once I got there, but it was just like, oh, you have to go there. Like that's
Mhm.
how you get to success. But it's not. Not if you don't have a plan of what you're going to do
Right.
when you get there, really. So
Absolutely.
trades are important. Trades
Yeah.
are very important. Learning skills or even mastering the skills that you already have, because a lot of these kids already have these skills that they're walking
Yeah.
around with, but nobody's really pulling it out of them, right?
Or get certified for them so that you can go into a job and prove it rather than just going, yeah, no, I can write Python and programming language, or I can do that. And you go, okay, well, show me a certification. and somebody else
And
has
that,
that certification, it's gonna, so yeah, and I completely agree more. And it's the same narrative that's been going on for a long time where you have to go to college to be successful, where I can't tell you how many, all of my friends change majors multiple times, right? So you end up spending more money. You end up in a career that doesn't involve your major,
mm,
so it's kind of like, I'm almost 40. I'm going to be still paying off student loans for the next couple of years until that's all gone. It's crazy. And so
yeah,
I think if students kind of flip it the other way around, like work a job until you decide exactly what you want to do, and then you can help pay for it that way. If a student, rather than, kind of working a minimum wage job, can have a side career where they're doing cosmetology or where they're, doing IT for a company, and then at night go to college in order to get the direction that you want. A lot of those ways can really help our young people be more financially responsible, borrow
yes,
less money, less credit card debt, and more of, kind of a plan of, hey, this is where I want to go. I think a lot of our youth also have a plan, and oh, I want to be this, right? And
hmm,
then they get scared because they don't know, how do I go about getting there? And
yes,
and I think Evit's a good entry point to get that first step. A lot of the students that, hey, I want to be a surgeon or I want to be a doctor. Okay, well, how do you start? I'm not really sure. I get into medical school. Well, why wouldn't you start getting some experience while you're still in high school as a junior or a senior, where you can go and get experience in a doctor's office. You can become a medical assistant or a nursing assistant or a dental assistant and some of those entry levels. And that way, when it comes time, A, this is what I want to do. And B, I already have some experience. So I'm more likely to get accepted, more likely to get scholarships, all of those things that can really help students along. And that's really what, the intention of what we're trying to do.
yeah, and that's what I was going to speak on too, the experience that you all are given, because it's wild that, a lot of jobs always want to know the experience that you have. I even work with my 12th graders with building resumes, and a lot of them had prior occupations or work somewhere from 16 on up and things like that. But a lot of them had never had a job, and so it's like, okay, well, what do I put here? What clubs are you in school? That's what.
Right.
Well, what clubs are you in? Let's talk about those. Like,
Yep.
have you ever babysat? Let's put that there. Things like that. But
Absolutely.
this is actually legit experience in different fields that they would be interested in going in.
Yeah, and that's exactly, I faced that same problem. I remember my first job interview and they said, "What experience do I have?" And I said, "I don't have any." And they said, "Well, we can't hire you if you don't have any experience." And I said, "Well, then
How am
how
I
do I
gonna
get
get it?
hired? How do I get experience if I can't get hired?" So it's just that kind of cycle that kids get into. And so
Yes.
they end up working a remedial job, which is great to start. But what's that long-term plan? Where do you want to go? And just know it doesn't have to be a perfect plan. Just start,
Right.
right? Just pick something and go. And sometimes it's even really effective at this level to figure out what you don't want to do. We have a lot of students that come in and say, "I've kind of learned that I don't want to do this specific career." And it's a lot easier to learn that as a junior in high school when you're 16, 17 years old than when you're 25 and you've got rent and you've got a car payment and mortgage and all that stuff. And
Indeed.
and it's like, okay, now I've got to kind of U-turn the Titanic here and change and do something different. How am I going to kind of fix that gap? All these things where trades can really, and it's not just trades, right? We have students that 2 out of 3 of our students go on to college.
Mm,
So we have pilots in aviation, we have veterinarians, we have, all of these careers that are really advanced. But at the same time, if you want to make fast money and get started in your life, go learn how to weld, go learn how to, fix
mm.
HVAC in Arizona and Phoenix. That's always going to be a job.
You
Those
better
industrial
say
trades are big.
it. Yes.
And so for our homeschool population, we feel like this is an under tapped and underappreciated market, because I know there's so many people that are moving towards, kind of handling the education on their own and taking charge of that for their own
Mhm.
families, which is something we appreciate. I think that, a lot of people have kind of, it's the same thing we've been talking about, are looking at this system and how it's kind of been set up and steered kids, hey, college, maybe that's not for me. Well, maybe the traditional high school isn't for my student either.
Mm,
And so, we really want to support all of that. There is kind of some questions when it comes to ESA funding that we get a lot from our homeschool families. And if this family does receive ESA funding, some of that from the state does go to us. Otherwise, if students don't receive ESA funding for their family, the programs are completely tuition free. So that's kind of a
Okay.
cool deal where, it's paid for by the state. So whether that's through the ESA funding and then back to us or just straight from the state, I do like to make sure everybody's aware of that up front because that's always kind of a murky question. Oh, I heard this is
Of
free. And
course.
it's like, it is, but we want to make sure that that's all clear.
Yeah, it comes from somewhere. Like, like it comes from
There's a lot of
somewhere.
resources here. And so it's got, yeah, you're right. It does have to come from somewhere.
Indeed, indeed. I love this. I really do because I remember Job Corps. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that was a big thing when I was in high school, but not so much when I actually taught in high school. Like I had a couple students who did the cosmetology, maybe maybe like one or two other things, but it was very
Yeah.
small. Like the population of kids who were actually taking advantage of it was very, very small. And I always wonder, like, why isn't this more like encouraged, or why isn't this something that's even popular? Like, first of all, to be able to leave school for a half a day, like I would think everybody would do that. But, you know, like why aren't more young people taking advantage of this? But then I thought, like, well, maybe their parents aren't aware of the, like, the options that they have in that regard too.
Yeah.
I didn't know how Job Corps worked because I wasn't a part of it, unfortunately, but it was always something that I really felt like more people should have been taken advantage of.
Yeah, and so, we've kind of faced a lot of those battles, whether it's, brand recognition. Like I go to an event and people are like, "What is that?"
Right.
And, or people going, "Oh, I just want to," because it's just something, it's like you get on a bus and you leave. It's kind of odd to do that every day, and we get that as well. But, once people kind of figure out what it is and they even come on campus on a tour, which I would recommend, Jay, you got to come visit.
Of
Um,
course.
it's really eye-opening to see the facilities that we have. And the way that this all started was 11 school districts in the East Valley kind of got together and said, look, we could all have automotive programs and they could all be like decently funded, or we could kind of pool this together and make one amazing automotive program or one. And so they started with certain specific programs that they wanted to build for high school kids. And then all of a sudden, hey, we'll bring them to the resource rather than trying to split up all these resources to them. And it just makes sense.
Yes.
So yeah, it's been a challenge to make sure that everybody knows about us. But last year our enrollment went up 20%. So we went up almost
Nice.
1,000 students this last year. And I think we're going to grow a similar number this year. We've been
Of
getting record numbers
course.
of enrollment. And it's been kind of that shift in society where people are starting to see like, man, there's really good money in a lot of these different fields, or how can I make more? People are kind of looking for that life hack with high school, right? How do I make more out of
Yes.
my day where I'm not just going to a class just to try something that I might not be interested in. The other hurdle that we face a lot of times is kids like, I don't want to be away from my friends, right? I have my high
Mm.
school friends and what we found is once they get into a program and get started, you're in a class for 2.5 hours with kids from all over the East Valley. We have 100 different high schools that send students to us. And not only that, but they share a passion. So, oh my gosh, you love graphic design. I love graphic design. We should work together on a project.
Exactly.
Or you're into, criminal justice. I want to be a police officer. We should work together on this. And you form these bonds, even though you don't go to high school together. 2.5 hours a day in a classroom is a lot of time. And they make really good lifelong friends here. So everybody kind of fits at Evit.
Yes. Especially if you're with someone like you said with coach, like y'all have the same interests. Like you have
Exactly.
someone who talks your language. Like it's not often in your friend group that y'all are all trying to do the same thing, or you all are
Right.
interested in this. Because I know me and my high school friends were definitely all different, very, very different from each other. But we, clicked anyways. But having someone that talks your language, like, oh, I could talk about the robotics of this, or I could talk about
Yeah.
this and somebody
Yeah.
understands what I'm talking about,
It's like,
or
these are
is
my
even
people.
interested in what I'm talking about. Yes, found your
And,
tribe. You found your tribe. I
and
love
it's,
that.
and
I
it's,
just,
yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh, well, I was just saying, I was just shared an article recently about a 12-year-old who was starting, I think he was starting like his second year in college and something else. But it's like, I've seen recently a lot of parents are saying, ask your children what they want to do and have them do it now.
Right.
as opposed to later. So this is what your program offers, that now aspect. It's like, okay, I don't have to wait until I'm 18 or 19 or 25 to say, oh, I want to do this. I can start doing this at 13, 14, 16. And it just shoots you in a whole different direction as opposed to just having life happen. You are actually creating what you want to happen.
Well, so like my grandfather worked for one main company for 40 years and they gave him a gold watch
Oh,
at the
wow.
end, right? And that was
That's
the
it.
norm back then,
Was
right?
it a Rolex? What was it? A Rolex? Gotta
Well,
go.
it's a retirement
Gotta
gift,
go
right?
watch
So
this.
seriously. Uh, but that was kind of the norm back then. It's like once you picked your job, that's who you were and that was your
That's
identity and
what you
that's what you
did.
did. And nowadays it's so much more common for everybody to switch careers around to, hey, I'm going to go into this field and try this and try that. It's almost like, why wouldn't we start them earlier to see like, hey, you can try this and it's not permanent, right?
Yes.
It's not going to be
Yes.
your forever choice and it doesn't have to be the perfect plan. It doesn't have to, maybe you figure out, like I said, that you don't like it, or maybe, but let's get started and kind of have that plan.
Indeed.
Yeah, I always tell students there's really 3 steps whenever I do a presentation. The first one is to make a plan, and it doesn't have to be
Mhm.
perfect. The second one is to go do it, because a lot of students stop after the first one where they're like, oh, I want to go be, I've coached a kid that's played in the NBA, right? And he said, I want to play in the NBA, and so and the second thing is to go execute your plan, right? Go and put in the
Mhm.
work. And a lot of people get scared to put in the work because then it's like, what if I fail? Right? What
Mm.
happens if, what are people going to think about me if I don't make it? They're going to laugh at me. What am I going to think about myself if I don't make it? And that all those
Yeah.
things, instead of just going and doing it and then understanding
Yes.
it's not going to be perfect. And I always say the third step is you got to change your plan and fix it because it's never going to be perfect. And then,
Indeed.
students tell me they're like, oh, then you're done. And it's like, no, not even close. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, now that you've changed your plan as step 3, now you have a new plan, right? And they go, yeah.
You
And
can
I go,
start
that's
back
step
over.
1.
Yes,
Start
sir.
over again and keep going until you get where you want to go. And it's
Yes.
such a cool thing to see students that have this vision of, I get so many students now that are like, oh, I want to be, I want to be what's it called? Ultrasound tech, or I want to be like these
Mm.
really specific careers. I'm going, yeah, like that's awesome. What's your plan? How are you going to get there? What are you going to do?
And they're like, well,
So
can
they
you
say,
help me
hey,
with that part?
yeah. And they say, can Evit help me? And a lot of times I'll
Right.
say, okay, for a specific career, what college do you want to get into in order to do that? And they'll go, oh, I'd love to get into like fill in the blank, right? I'm not going to push out
Yeah.
any schools here. I say, call their admissions office and ask them, hey, would this certification help me get into your school and get a better, chance at being a part of your program? And if
Yeah.
it does, great, then let's work together. And if not, that's okay too. What can you be doing right now is to help your plan and get you further along?
I just feel like this should be like high school. Like that should be what high school is made of. Like when you look at the curriculum and what students repetitively learn, like, because it's just a repetition of everything from beginning to end. It's just an addition of things to it. Because, like I said, I taught English, and my 7th grade, when I taught in 7th grade English compared to my 10th grade English class or my 12th grade, it all looked the same. It was just a little more detail here, a little more detail there. But for the most part, Arthur's purpose, noun, verb, pronouns, like, all that stuff. Like it was still the same stuff. And it's just like, well, how many times can we beat this in these kids' head? And that's my issue with school now, or looking at school as a whole. I feel like it's a lot of time wasted.
Mhm. Yeah, and the question that I taught geometry, right? So that's the reaction I usually get. People either love algebra and hate geometry, or they
I don't
love
like any of
geometry and hate algebra, or they love both, and those people are called math teachers, right?
it.
So I used to teach geometry, and I think I set the world record for being asked, hey, when am I going to use this in real life?
Right? You have to, because what's the Pythagorean theorem, something
Polygons,
theorem.
Pythagorean theorems,
Like,
all that stuff.
one. No one has ever asked me that or anything about it. And,
Right.
geometry scarring me. I
Right.
have a
But here's
history
the
with
thing.
geometry.
the hard part that teachers aren't explicit about, that I think we should be if we're teaching the geometry, and I tried to be, is I'm not teaching you about shapes. I'm teaching you how to think, right?
Mm,
I'm teaching you a way to prove what you think, to follow step by step, to go law by law by law means I started here and I ended here and I can prove that it's true. Or, different kind of reasonings, deductive, inductive reasoning is really what geometry is about. Can I take rules that I've learned and apply them in a specific way to make sure that what I know is true is actually true and I'm not guessing? That aside, right? When I walk through the campus here at Evit, I don't have a bunch of students going, why am I learning about this?
no,
How
nice.
does this relate to real
Yes.
life? Because, I mean, they know, they can see this is building me the skills I need in order to get to the future that I want. So that's one thing we're really excited about here, is it's always like super relevant to everything they want to do,
Yes.
and or they don't want to do it, and then they learn that and they try something
Yeah,
different.
right. And that's the thing, that's the beauty of it all. Like I share some of my past professions or like, things that I did prior to doing what I'm doing now, or even prior to me becoming a teacher in the classroom. Like I was a DJ, I was a little
Hmm.
math scientist. I did like I did office work, of course, that was never my forte. Substitute teaching. I did a lot of things prior to actually finding my footing where I'm at now. As my mom said, you're not even using any of your degrees. What are you doing? What are you doing with your just trying to change the world, mom? I'm trying to
There you
help.
go.
Hey.
That's what it was about. Find your
And that's
calling.
even like nonprofits aren't even a big thing that's pushed or talked about in school in general when talking about career paths or what you want to do. Even focusing on a problem and saying, okay, well, how can I present a solution to this problem that I see? Like a lot of things just aren't really, oh, I don't know, geared into that level of success or geared into that plan of like, how can I be a difference type of
Yeah.
deal, you know?
And I think that's another way that you can see this, kind of the way the education system was all set up. And I mean, and we can get into the history of that, because that is
Right.
not
Yes.
exactly a positive thing
At all.
at all. But now people are starting to look at things now with information being so readily available with the internet, and with, seeing how other people do it, and this worked and that didn't, that all of those pieces come together. And now we're kind of questioning, like, why is the system this way? Right?
Mm.
Why do I send my kid to learn X, Y, and Z in like a factory line model, where then they get cranked out and now they're educated? And it's like, are they? And
Are
how,
they?
are we
Yes.
are we really making the most out of every minute? And how can we really help our students who are maybe more technically inclined? How are we helping our students who are maybe more, manually inclined? Or, all the different aspects of children, how are we reaching all of them? And I'll tell you right now, it's an impossible task, and all we can do is our
Mm.
best. But if you look at the way the system's been and the way education has been, I don't necessarily think that's our best. And I think that there's a lot of room for improvement, in ways that we can kind of put pieces together to go, hey, yeah, we can help this kid who just has a knack for, and find that, that tribe or that path or that calling, and say, hey, let's focus on that. Let's accentuate that. Let's give them all the things they can to get started in that industry. A lot of our kids, maybe they come to us and I'm not really into school. And then all of a sudden they see, oh, I can do, this program if I'm going to class every day and I'm passing my classes. Like for me, that was basketball and baseball, right? And it's kind of the corny
Mm.
whatever, but if I knew that if I didn't pass my classes and I didn't go to class, I wasn't going to play.
That was me too. I played basketball. If it wasn't for
There you go.
basketball, then I probably like
Exactly. And so, the kids that aren't on a sports team, or aren't in the play, or aren't in the band, what's their purpose, and what's the reason why they go, I want to
indeed.
show up to this every day? And it might not be an intrinsic thing. It might not be internal, where they're just like, I want to do it because it's right. Sometimes you need to have a direction, or something that they can see and go, oh, if I go to class every day, I can work on cars for half of my day, or I can
Right.
go cut hair, or I can go, practice cleaning people's teeth, or, whatever program you choose from. So yeah, it's definitely something that I think can represent a lot, bigger population of students that maybe don't
Yes.
feel like they fit in the traditional mold of high school.
And these are all important occupations also. It's wild that we always gear and center on a college-based profession for the level of success, but these are all like career, like, dental technician is important. A mechanic, oh, where would we be without mechanics? Like,
Exactly.
goodness,
Yeah.
we need them all the time. Like,
Yeah.
mechanics are wonderful. My nephew, he just got into electricity. Like he's
Mm,
studying to be an electrician. Granted, he's what 20, I think 28 now.
good for
It's
him.
something he wished that he would have started, a long time ago. However, college was in his ear. College was, but he also played football and wanted to take his, do
Yeah.
that way. And so that also leads a lot of kids into the college field too, that you're like, do you really want to go to college? Like this.
Yeah. One of the running backs from the Kansas City Chiefs, they just won the Super Bowl. He's doing night school to become a nurse and
Oh,
studying nursing because he said, I think it was his mom had MS, I believe, and he saw the
okay.
care and that she got, and that was just meant so much to him that this is going to be his calling after playing professional football. And I'm
Nice.
going, that's exactly the mindset that I see where, hey, I can do this for now. And
Mm-hmm.
if college is for you, go to college,
By
right?
all means, yes.
But if you're not sure and you want to explore a little bit, maybe explore with a career first, or, even between jobs. A lot of times students, or adults, hey, I'm switching from this career to that career and I have 6 months until the next job starts. If I had a certification or a trade, I could go and start working and make some money in the
Yes.
meantime. Things like that come up. For every 5 people that retire from the industrial trades right now, so any of those construction, contracting, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, welding, only 2 people are coming in,
Hmm.
which leaves a huge vacuum of all these
Yeah.
unfilled jobs and such a need
Yes.
to the point now where if there's seniors now that are listening to this and they say, you know what, I want to do something like this, the government will actually pay for those students to attend a program the year after they graduate. And so they can get a
Nice.
free certification that's paid for by the state. As long as they complete it within a year, they're able to do that. And then we have a big long list of our programs where you can do that. So it's like, they're really trying to push people into these careers and they're making really good money. Welders can come out and make 60, 70, $80,000 a year straight out
That's
of high school.
awesome. Yes.
It
And
is a
I
long
used to have
business.
a little sheet, I know, right? I used to have like different trades on my board with their salary next to it. It was hourly, not yearly, but it was important for students to be able to see that and say, hey, oh, okay, these are all jobs that you don't have to go to college for. You make that. Like I used to always get that like, oh, they made that. I didn't know they made that. Like, yes, look into it. Look into
Yeah.
it. Because it's not introduced a lot. So with your adult program, is that also paid by the state?
So the adult programs, like a couple of years down the road after you've graduated, no, there are certain
No. Okay.
grants and certain funding that you can find. It's kind of like financial aid that's
Mm-hmm.
available for some of the programs, depending on which direction you want to go. But we found that our prices are more than competitive with other, institutions that are offering similar certifications. So it's definitely a good way to go and just find out more. You can visit our website. We're at evit.edu, and we have a ton of information there that we can help students. We always like to say 16 to 60, it doesn't matter.
Nice.
My dad always
Yes.
comes around and he's like, when can I sign up for that welding program? That'd be kind of fun to learn. He's retired.
Right? Yeah, no, but there's no age to stop learning new skills or honing
Exactly.
in on the skills that you already have, sharpening the skills that you already have. Like, a passion that you put, like you said, a lot of our elders, they got into jobs and got stationary and they put 30, 40 years in these one jobs. However, it was never really their passion. And so,
Right.
like your dad said, hey, that welder may be something to do. Like this is something to think about because there are so many things you can do and so many things to feel fulfilled in doing as
Yeah,
opposed to just
we've had like insurance workers that come back and go, I'm staring at a computer screen all day.
mm,
And the one person I spoke to actually on an interview was in plumbing. And he goes, I get to leave a job and go, I did that today. And there's like that
Right.
satisfaction, that fulfillment, like you said, that you get
Oh,
from,
plumbing's kind of gross though.
you
I'm glad he
know,
likes it. I'm glad he likes it.
but you could be a
We
plumber and
need
never
them
touch a
too. We need
toilet.
them too. Yes.
You can do gas lines and hospital. There's a lot of, sprinkler systems and fire suppression, things like that. There's a lot of options available. People think plumbers and they have a certain image, and I'm going to tell you right
I
now, it's
know.
not like that anymore.
I think about unclogging. That's the first thing you think about plumbing. You think about unclogging, whether it's the shower or the toilet or the sink. It's just something like, oh, okay, there's a blockage there, and they have to get it. Like, ew, what are they
Yeah,
gonna get? So,
pants riding a little low, maybe. Yeah, I know the vision. I know the image.
yes, yes, but they're all important regardless of what it is. Like the world will not turn without a lot of these occupations that are not college driven. So I love what you all are offering. I love that y'all are making it accessible for the young and the old and encouraging everyone to tap into their passions. This is so amazing. I love this.
Well, thank you. And I will say in those industrial trades, the ones who are really like going above and beyond that, it's awesome to see,
Mhm.
is we call them non-traditional. So a lot of females in the industrial trades are really taking off and doing well. It's easier for them to get
Yes.
hired. They'll get paid more because companies are looking for women in their workforce. Um, and then in our programs, they're really, kicking butt. And I always kind of tell a joke on the tour that, well, the reason why is because I've never seen a high school female, look at her friend and say, "Hey, watch this," right? Like the maturity side, stereotypically, obviously, it's not for everybody, but a lot of times
Yeah.
our females are more mature and they're more focused and able to complete these tasks and to pick this stuff up. Where sometimes our guys are a little bit, antsy, a little bounce off the walls. They'll catch up with the maturity side, but sometimes it takes a little while. And it's just been fun to see like these ladies do such an amazing job. And then there's also males in programs that would be traditionally female, like cosmetology
Mhm.
or nursing. Historically those have been jobs in female industries, and that's changing. And we really love
Yes.
supporting that as well. So if you are a female that's, hey, you know what, I want to get into working on diesel trucks, or I want to get into, some of these industries, you can really go further. And I think that's one that we want to make sure and we're supporting as well.
Nice. Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, no, there's no sex to any job. Like everyone is capable of doing whatever. We things are definitely turning around as far as the patriarchal view that has always been like over the US. Like it's getting turned and reshaped and rebranded all the way because people are
Yeah,
doing everything. I've seen a young lady get accepted into college for being she was on a football team, male football team as the
there you
kicker.
go.
It's like, go ahead, girl. You go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Yeah. My girl
Yes.
Sabrina Ionescu doing a 3-point shootout against Steph Curry. I'm like, yeah, that's my Oregon family right there. I love that.
Oh, nice. That's where you're from, Oregon?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I went to University
Okay.
of Oregon.
Okay, awesome. I said we're gonna head to the northwest next year. Like Seattle and
Yeah.
Oregon, Utah, all those lovely states that we haven't really
Nice.
ventured to. We're gonna put them on the map next year. So we're
You're gonna
excited
love it.
about that. Oh,
Beautiful up
I
there.
know it's beautiful. I already know. I already know. I'm anticipating it all. But yes, I'm so glad that you found your footing in something that you feel more fulfilled in doing as opposed to being a college pusher. Look, being a college pusher and saying,
Teaching's
hey,
hard, right? You understand, Jay. It's not easy. And God
it's
bless those
fine.
people that are doing it, because they're fighting the good fight. Um,
Always. Oh,
I
and you
think
were in
that
geometry, huh? And like, I can imagine what you had to deal with. Like,
it
I
was a
can
lot.
argue reading. Look, I can argue why you need to know how to read, but arguing why you need to know these shapes and these theorems and all. Oh, I know you had a fight for you.
It was a show every day. So you got to put on some entertainment, try to get them engaged and get them involved. But yeah, now that I found it here, it's just been
Yeah.
awesome. And when you believe in what you're doing and why you're doing it, and seeing some of the lives that are changed, even generationally,
Oh
we have students
yes.
that, I don't know where I'm going to go or what I'm going to do, and then all of a sudden they find a pathway and they start going. And if they can, become successful, make a good amount of money, then you think about their kids and their kids' kids and how that can really set up
Yes,
generations for
yes.
success. We also, speaking of that, have just recently built a $10 million facility from a grant from the for foster youth. So we
Oh,
found that one of
wow.
the most underserved populations in the state is actually foster youth that kind of age out of the system. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have actually dormitories on campus with like medical facilities as well as like mental health facility and support. They'll live on campus and get their either GED or diploma and then complete a trade and get a certification and get into a job. And that's another way that we're trying to really have a big impact on the community. And it's going to end up hosting 64 students to live there full time.
Oh, nice. Oh, y'all
Yeah.
are really doing some great things. Oh,
We're trying to help. I mean,
you're doing. Yes, I
we
love
have
it.
we got great staff and great leadership here who have a passion for supporting the community and really trying to help the underserved, and that's one that we really want to jump into head first. So it's been cool to see how that's not just kind of lip service. It's not just, hey, we're going to talk about it.
Yes.
They're actually putting it into
Being
action
about
and
it.
helping.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
been
Walking the
cool.
walk. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. So important. So everything that y'all are doing is definitely a difference, a game changer. Game changer all the way.
We're trying. There's a lot of room for growth and a lot of
Of
room,
course.
for improvement, but we always try to see how many people we can help and what we can do to help them.
That's what it's about. Being the change. Being the change. And you've already gave us the email and where we can, well, not email, but website where we can find
Yeah,
you all, but give it to us again, even though it is going to be in this description and
yeah.
everything that people can, but go ahead and holler that out at them again.
Yep, it's evit.edu. And you can go there on the main website. You'll see places to schedule a tour. You can contact a recruiter. You can look at all of our programs that we offer for high school students and for adults. All of that information. We have events going on all the time. You can even follow us on our social media. We'll make sure and shout out the Homeschool Yo Kids podcast
Thank
on the
you.
social. We're at Evit News on social media, all of the social medias. So yeah, it's exciting time. Thank you so much for
Yes.
having me.
Of course, but before I let you go, you had already gave me three of like, what you tell students what they have to
Mhm.
do, but let's talk to parents now. What are three things you would tell parents in regards to just planning and shaping their children's future
Yeah,
or
I think,
leading, like not even shaping. I don't
yeah.
want to use that word, but leading,
I like that. I
guiding.
like that. Yeah. I think number one is redefining what success, right? I
Mm,
think I think having your mind of what success is versus the student's mind and kind of finding that balance in between. Because I don't think it should be all up to them. We've got to give
mm,
some guidance and some support, but
of
also I
course.
think we can't be dictators either and just tell them that they have to do things because that, in terms of your future, and that makes a challenge. So number one, I think would be redefining success. Number two, I think would be to work with your student to figure out a plan and to
Yeah.
communicate to them like it doesn't have to be a perfect plan. It's not going to work out exactly how we imagine it, but let's pick a direction and just start going. I think that's really helpful for those students that you know kind of don't want to float through life and want to just kind of have a, hey, here's where I'm going, here's what I'm doing, here's why I'm doing it. And then third is just, support, support, support. We have all these different kinds of students from all different backgrounds and all different cultures and all different types of schools. And I think that, just doing your best and understanding, hey, it's not going to be perfect, but we're all going to try to give the kids exactly what they need and what we can do for them. That can't be understated, I think. So those would be the
Of
three things
course.
that I would say.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I just spoke with a mom of six
Oh,
that
wow.
homeschool. Yeah, she has homeschool all six of her kids. And
Wow.
number six, five, all five, the first five went to college. Number six said, I don't want to go. And she said it was a hard pill to swallow, but she swallowed it and was able to let him do what he wanted to do. And it's
Wow.
working out good for him. So
Good for both of them. Good for the kid
of
for speaking
course.
up. Good for the mom for
Yes.
hearing it. That's tough. That's
Yes,
awesome.
yes. So I love that you started with that. Like, let's redefine because a lot of parents are, like I said, mine was always in my ear about college. You're going to college, you're going
Yeah.
to college. I'm like, Dad, do I have to? Like, but let's redefine. Let's reimagine what that looks like. And understand that it's subjective and it's definitely very, very subjective for all. So happiness should be the end goal, I feel. And that's
Yeah,
just
I'm
me.
about that.
Well, that's just me. But I feel like happiness should be in there somewhere. So just, yeah, trust the process always. But I love everything. Are you all just available in Arizona, or are you all, we can tap in and they can do this online?
That's a great question. So there are career and technical schools all over the country.
Okay.
Ours is Evit, which, like I said in the beginning, stands for East Valley. So we have 11 school districts
Okay.
in the East Valley. If you're in Phoenix Central, there's Metro Tech. On the west side, it's West Mech. They're all over the country. So definitely look up. They're called CTE, Career and Technical Education.
Okay.
And there's all different types of programs that run these things different ways. Some have fewer programs, some have, night classes. There's a lot of different options of, how we attack this problem and try to support students. But yeah, they're all, for the most part, really, really good and trying to do the right thing.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for the encouragement that you've offered today. And thank Evit for everything that they're doing, all the CTE programs all over. Like, I really, really appreciate this. And I hope that this does become more mainstream. Like, hey, oh no, my child's going to this, or oh no, mom, I want to do this. Like, people are more having those conversations. And I feel like choices, like this is another choice. This is another option. And the more we talk about it, the more people know, and the more it becomes a regular thing to discuss. Like the
Yeah.
wave of the new education, or how education will be viewed, is definitely shifting. And I'm happy to be a part of that shift, as you are as well. So
Jay, you're doing awesome stuff. I love this show, and I think it's really cool that you're putting it out there and trying to help people and build a community this way. And we just love being a part of it. And anything we can do to support, please let us know. Got to
of
get you on
course.
campus for a tour.
Oh yes, yes, yes. When we're back in Arizona, we're in Louisiana right now, but when we're back in
Awesome.
Arizona, I would definitely check y'all out. My 10-year-old will probably be the first one to like, oh, I want, can I do this? Can I do? Because we be everywhere. She's like, are y'all
Can I get another tattoo with a
right?
temporary tattoo?
Exactly. But parents know the options are available. Parents understand that there are so many choices, so many things that we can take advantage of as far as resources go, in helping us shape and build. And I keep using that word shape, but create
Yeah.
a world of education that works for you and your family. So tap into these resources, check them out, and see if they fit what you're looking for. But understand that this is not something you have to do alone. And this is not something you have to do by the traditional setting of, oh, this needs to go this way because of standard society. Like, no, we're rebuilding and reimagining all of that. So take advantage, tap into these resources, homeschool your kids.